ever feel like, your emotions are just on this roller coaster
Oh.
and you're kind of stuck on the ride?
Oh, yeah?
You're not alone if you feel that way.
Definitely not.
That's what we're diving into today.
Mm-hmm.
Figuring out how to take control,
Yeah,
understanding why we feel the way we do,
absolutely.
and giving you some actual tools to ride those emotional waves instead of getting, completely wiped out.
Yeah, yeah.
We're talking DBT,
Okay.
Dialectical Behavior Therapy.
Right, right. And the cool thing is, it's not just for, like, serious mental health stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's super helpful for things like, borderline personality disorder, substance abuse, all that.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, it can help anyone who, wants to handle life's ups and downs a little better.
Interesting.
Be more resilient, more self-aware,
So it's for everyone, basically.
Pretty much.
Mm.
If you've got emotions, DBT can probably help you out in some way.
That's awesome. So no matter where you're at on that whole emotional spectrum,
Right.
this deep dive is for you.
I like it.
Think of it as DBT 101. We're going to cover the basics, what's good about it, and maybe even have some aha moments along the way.
Definitely some aha moments.
Yeah.
DBT has a really unique perspective.
Okay.
It's gaining popularity for a reason.
Okay, so let's break this whole DBT thing down.
Okay.
A lot of times it's described as a type of CBT,
Mm-hmm.
cognitive behavioral therapy,
Yeah.
but with a twist.
Yeah, you got it. So if CBT is let's say, renovating a house, finding what's broken and fixing it, DBT is more about learning to live comfortably in the house you've already got.
Okay.
It's about accepting and managing your thoughts and feelings, even the messy ones, instead of trying to, get rid of them completely.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Right.
Instead of wishing for a different house, you're like, okay, this is my house. I'm going to learn to love it.
Exactly.
Maybe do a little redecorating.
Exactly. It's like recognizing that those, not so fun thoughts and feelings, they're just part of being human.
Right.
So we can't always get rid of them, but we can learn to handle them.
So both CBT and DBT have their place.
Yeah.
But it seems like DBT is really helpful for dealing with intense emotions, tough situations.
Exactly. Those moments when you feel like you're going to lose it.
Right, right.
DBT gives you the skills to weather the storm.
Yeah.
To ride those waves without getting totally wiped out.
So what kind of skills are we talking about? What's in this DBT toolkit?
Well, one of the core things, and this is huge, is mindfulness.
See, now this is where it gets really interesting for me. So I think a lot of people, they hear mindfulness and they
Yeah.
picture meditation retreats.
Chuckles. Yeah, the chanting monks.
Yeah.
It can be that. But you're right. It's so much bigger.
Okay.
Mindfulness, like we use it in DBT, it's about being right here, right now.
Okay.
Not stuck in the past and not freaking out about the future, just dot present.
Okay, so being in the moment. But how does that actually help with managing your emotions?
It's about seeing your thoughts and feelings without, judging them.
Okay.
Like, oh, there's anger. Okay, there's sadness. Just noticing them.
Oh.
Not getting swept away.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how powerful that can be.
It sounds kind of simple.
Yeah.
Oh, just stop feeling anxious.
Right.
Right. But I'm guessing it's harder than it sounds.
There's definitely more to it. That's where the practical stuff comes in. Like something as simple as, really paying attention to your senses throughout the day.
Oh, okay.
What do you see? What do you smell? That kind of thing.
Really tasting that first cup of coffee.
Exactly. Or noticing how the air feels on your skin.
Yeah.
It's about grounding yourself in this moment through your senses.
Interesting.
And yeah, breathing exercises can be part of it too.
Right.
But the main thing is finding what works for you and actually doing it regularly.
So mindfulness, that's our foundation.
Yeah, the cornerstone of our DBT toolkit.
Okay, what else we got?
Well, let's say you're facing one of those big emotional moments we were talking about, like you're about to lose it.
Oh, yeah.
DBT gives you what we call distress tolerance skills.
Distress tolerance.
It's your emergency kit for your emotions.
I love that.
Yeah.
Everyone needs a good emergency kit. What's in this one?
Okay, so picture this. You're super anxious, heart's racing, you feel like you can't breathe. A distress tolerance skill could be something as simple as controlled breathing.
And we're not talking regular breathing here, right?
No, not just like breathe in, breathe out.
Yeah.
We're talking specific techniques.
Okay.
Like box breathing, for example.
Yeah.
You breathe in for a count of 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 4.
I've heard of that.
It's actually what Navy SEALs use to stay calm under pressure.
Wow, really?
Yeah. But anyone can use it anytime, anywhere. It's like a quick reset for your nervous system.
That's so cool. What else is in our kit?
Another great one, intense exercise. Now, I'm not saying you have to go run a marathon every time you're stressed,
Right.
but getting your heart rate up can actually really help shift your emotional state. It's like letting those feelings out physically.
Okay, so next time I'm about to send that angry email,
Oh, yeah.
maybe I'll just go for a quick run instead.
There you go.
Yeah.
Much healthier in the long run.
Right.
And those are just a couple of examples. The main thing with distress tolerance skills is they help you get through those really intense moments without doing unhealthy things to cope.
Right. So instead of reaching for that extra glass of wine or, whatever your thing is, you've got a whole new set of tools to deal with those feelings.
Exactly. It's about giving yourself the power to make healthier choices, even when things are tough.
Okay, so we've got mindfulness for, staying grounded, distress tolerance for emergencies. What else is there?
This DBT toolkit is pretty awesome, right?
It's pretty impressive so far.
And this next one is a big part of what makes DBT different. Emotional regulation.
Emotional regulation. Okay, so not just coping, but actually learning to, change how we respond to our emotions.
It might sound impossible,
Yeah, a little bit.
but that's what's so cool about DBT. It's not about pretending you don't have feelings or pushing them down.
Right.
It's about realizing we have more control than we think.
Okay, I'm listening. Tell me more.
So instead of just being on that roller coaster up and down with our emotions, we can learn how it all works. What triggers certain feelings? What are our thought patterns? And then we can actually choose how we respond.
So it's like learning to surf those emotional waves instead of getting, constantly knocked down.
Precisely. And just like surfing, it takes practice. But with DBT, you've got the surfboard and you've got a coach.
I like that. I can see why people are really into this whole DBT thing.
It's pretty great.
But it's not all just internal, is it? It's also about how we deal with other people, right?
You got it. DBT gets that our emotions, they play a huge role in our relationships.
Right.
So there's a whole set of skills focused on something called interpersonal effectiveness.
Interpersonal effectiveness. That sounds kind of formal, but I'm guessing it's like learning how to communicate better, set boundaries.
Exactly.
Interpersonal effectiveness. So it's like figuring out the rules of communication, right?
Yeah, like those unspoken rules.
So you can, say what you need to say.
Right.
Without accidentally starting a huge fight.
Exactly. It's about learning to actually say what you need and what you want.
Okay.
Setting good boundaries and not freaking out when there's a disagreement.
So for someone who has trouble saying no, and I'm thinking about asking a friend for a favor here, not anything serious.
Sure.
Could DBT help with that?
Absolutely. DBT can be amazing for learning how to stand up for yourself.
Okay.
But in a way that's still, kind and respectful.
Right, because you don't want to be too aggressive either.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance.
So knowing your limits and then actually saying them out loud.
Yeah, and feeling good about it. And it's not just about saying no. It's about, when you disagree with someone.
Right.
Where you want to share your opinion. DBT gives you the skills to do that in a way that builds relationships,
Instead of tearing them down. Okay, this interpersonal effectiveness thing, I'm adding that to my DBT sounds amazing list.
It's pretty great.
This DBT toolkit is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But let's switch gears a little bit.
Okay.
We've talked about all these different skills, but how do you actually use them, in real life?
That's the big question, right?
Yeah.
It's easy to read about it,
Right.
but using it, that's where the real work is.
Okay.
And that's where the whole structure of DBT comes in.
So how does it work? Do you have to do, tons of therapy?
Yeah.
Writing in notebooks, all that?
Notebooks can definitely help for keeping track of stuff, practicing your skills.
Okay.
But honestly, you can do DBT in a lot of different ways. One common way is that one-on-one therapy.
So working with a therapist?
Yeah.
On your own individual goals?
Exactly. But a lot of times, DBT will also use group sessions.
Oh, interesting.
Which can be super helpful for a few reasons.
Okay, what? Why are the group sessions so helpful?
Well, first of all, you get to see other people using these skills.
Right.
In a safe environment.
Yeah.
And that can be a game changer.
That's oh, that's how you actually do it.
Exactly. And also, just being in a group with other people who get it.
Yeah.
You're going through similar stuff. It can be really powerful.
That feeling of community.
Yeah, you're not alone in this. And that can be so validating, especially when you're dealing with tough emotions.
It's like having a built-in support system.
Right.
While you're trying to, work on yourself.
And speaking of support, there's another part of DBT I think is worth mentioning. Phone coaching.
Phone coaching. Okay, what is that? Is it just therapy over the phone?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
It's because really popular, and it's great for those times when you need help, like right now.
Oh, I see.
So let's say you're having a really rough day,
Yeah.
and you're about to do that thing you know you shouldn't do.
Right. That unhealthy coping mechanism.
Exactly. You can just call up your therapist right then and there.
Wow. So you have them on speed dial, basically.
Pretty much. It's like having backup whenever you need it.
I can see how that would be really helpful for people. But I'm guessing it's important to find a therapist you really connect with.
Oh, absolutely. DBT, it's a team effort.
Okay.
You and your therapist, you're working together.
Right.
So you got to find someone you click with who really gets you.
Yeah.
And, of course, someone who actually knows DBT.
And that's true for both individual and group, right?
Definitely.
You got to feel comfortable, like you can trust the people you're working with.
Exactly. And the good news is there are a lot of great DBT therapists out there.
Oh, that's good to know.
So don't be afraid to, shop around a little bit.
Great.
Ask for recommendations
Yeah.
until you find someone who feels right for you.
This is all great advice. Honestly, this whole conversation, it's really eye-opening. I never thought about how much goes into really understanding your emotions.
It's a lot, right?
It's like a whole other world.
It really is. And the more you learn about it, the more you realize how connected everything is. Your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, it's all linked together. And DBT gives you the tools to step into that, to see those patterns, and then make better choices.
It's like taking control instead of just letting our emotions run the show.
Yeah, exactly.
That's powerful stuff.
It is. It's empowering.
It really is. I'm curious now, how does this actually work for people? So we've covered what DBT is and how it works, all the different skills, how it's structured, the whole thing. But now I'm curious about how it actually helps people, in real life.
Right.
With real challenges.
Yeah, DBT, it's not just theory.
Right. Really making a difference in people's lives.
And one area where I've heard it's really effective is substance abuse.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is a big deal.
It is huge.
It affects so many people.
Yeah, and it's something that DBT can really help with.
Okay.
And it makes sense when you think about it.
Okay.
Addiction is often about trying to cope with tough emotions.
Yeah, like using substances to just kind of numb yourself out.
Exactly.
Avoid those feelings.
Which might work for a little bit, but in the long run,
Right.
it stops people from learning how to cope in healthier ways.
Okay, so that's where DBT comes in.
Exactly.
So how does DBT approach addiction treatment? What makes it different?
it's kind of like a step-by-step thing.
Okay.
Each step builds on the one before, and it tackles different parts of addiction and recovery.
The first stage is all about getting control over those impulsive behaviors.
Okay, so that's where those distress tolerance skills come in handy.
Exactly.
Learning to deal with those cravings without giving in.
Yeah, you learn to recognize those urges,
Right.
figure out what triggers them, and then find healthier ways to react.
Okay.
So instead of reaching for that drink or drug right away,
Right.
DBT gives you a whole new set of tools to manage those cravings.
It's like breaking that automatic response,
Yeah.
oh, I'm stressed, better have a drink.
Exactly. You're creating space between the feeling and the action.
Okay.
And that space is where change can happen.
So stage 1 is all about going from out of control to in control.
Exactly.
Gotcha. So what happens once someone has a better handle on those immediate urges?
That's when the deeper work begins. Stage 2 is about moving from being emotionally shut down to being emotionally present and engaged.
Wow.
It's about learning to feel the full range of your emotions,
Okay.
even the painful ones,
Right.
without needing substances to numb them.
That's huge because for a lot of people struggling with addiction,
Yeah,
substances become a way to just avoid feeling anything at all.
totally. And while that avoidance might feel safer at first,
Mm-hmm.
it keeps people stuck.
Right.
So DBT helps people develop emotional literacy.
Emotional literacy. What is that? It sounds like a class I would have taken in school.
It kind of is like learning a new language,
Okay.
but it's the language of your own feelings.
Interesting.
It's about being able to recognize what you're feeling,
Okay.
understand why you're feeling it,
Right.
and then actually express those feelings in a healthy way.
So instead of just feeling overwhelmed by anxiety, for example,
Yeah.
you can be like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm feeling anxious right now, and this is why.
Exactly. And that awareness is so powerful because then you can choose how you want to respond to those feelings.
Yeah, it's like you're not just controlled by your emotions anymore. You're in the driver's seat.
Precisely. And as those skills get stronger, people can move into stage 3,
Okay.
which is all about building a more normal life and solving normal everyday problems.
Okay, so it becomes less about managing addictions specifically.
Yeah.
And more about just handling all the stuff that comes with life.
Exactly. Things like dealing with relationships,
Right.
stress at work, going after your goals.
Yeah.
Those everyday things that can be hard for anyone in recovery if they don't have the skills to manage them well.
Yeah, because life is hard even when you're not dealing with addiction.
It is. We all have our stuff.
Exactly. And that's why these DBT skills are so helpful for everyone.
Exactly.
Not just people recovering from addiction. Because wouldn't it be amazing if we all had the tools to handle those ups and downs a little better?
Totally.
With more grace and resilience.
Absolutely. And that brings us to stage 4.
Okay.
This is like the peak of DBT for addiction.
Okay.
Going from feeling incomplete to feeling complete and connected.
I love that. So it's not just about being sober.
Right.
It's about creating a life after recovery that is actually fulfilling.
It's about having real relationships.
Yeah.
Finding your purpose, feeling like you belong.
Right.
Because ultimately, those are the things that make recovery last.
It's like DBT gives you the foundation, and then it's up to you to build the life you want.
You got it?
It gives you the power to create something amazing.
Exactly.
This has been so inspiring.
Good.
I bet our listeners are feeling the same way.
Yeah.
So as we're wrapping up this deep dive into DBT,
Yeah.
what's like the one thing you want our listeners to remember?
If there's one thing to take away from all of this,
Yeah.
is that we all have this amazing ability to grow and change.
Okay.
Life will always have its challenges,
Right.
but DBT, it gives us the tools to deal with those challenges with more resilience, more self-awareness, and more compassion.
Yeah.
Not just for ourselves, but for the people around us too.
That's beautiful. So whether you're just learning about DBT
Yeah.
or you've been using it for a while, remember, every step you take towards better emotional well-being is a step in the right direction.
It is.
And as always, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep into the things that make you feel alive.
Yes.
Until next time, happy listening.